at is that there is no system that we currently have in this society where an individual would be cared for and would be able to die with their rights intact. There is no system that exists where someone could basically ask for euthanasia and there's nothing suspicious going on. The current systems we have do not care for the people that already exist in it. We are already here and they want to get rid of us. Now, as per usual, I'm going to do something a little bit different. People have been protesting this. Many disability organisations and individuals have been protesting, telling people to say no to the assisted dying bill. There's a 3-point argument that they have. The first argument is not now. The government are currently proposing millions in cuts to disability benefits. They will permanently end lives of many disabled people and push more of us into poverty. An NHS in crisis, the crumbling of social care provision, and hospices reliant on charity funding all contribute to a painful death. Real dignity in dying means funding public services. Again, you cannot have assisted suicide and dignity in death when you aren't dignifying people as they're living. Not this way, and I really want us to listen to this. The bill will fundamentally change the function of the NHS and transform our relationship with healthcare professionals. Rushed and inadequate legislation risks lives. Put a pin in that. A private member's bill is not the appropriate process for a law of this magnitude. There cannot be sufficient scrutiny. We believe the inaccessibility. It's late. We believe the inaccessible and non-constitutive passage of the bill has violated the UNCRDP. Don't know what the fuck that is, but okay, let's break that down a little bit. What is our relationship with healthcare professionals now? Because if we're talking about Ebo and we're looking at how healthcare professionals treated him before his death, what do healthcare professionals think of us now? What do healthcare professionals think about black women as they're having babies? Or black chronically ill patients? Or black children? Poor children, poor people. What do they think of us now? My worry with this bill is that I believe institutions, because it ain't just the government, institutions are trying to deter people from getting help. They're trying to deter people from even waving a flag and signaling that they need help. Because once they do, well, we can kill you. So, a struggling mum with a child who has autism and a mental health diagnosis may not go for help, because if they do, their child could be taken to a hospice or a mental care facility and she might not see them again. That's what they're doing. Let's read this last point. Not like this. The bill is not fit for purpose, what I've been saying. Insufficient safeguards were weakened further at the committee stage, and vital amendments that could have been offered to us, additional protections, were voted down. As the bill currently stands, a panel of professionals wouldn't even need to meet the applicant for assisted death. This bill does not effectively protect us against coercion. Again, what are the biases that already exist in these systems? What are the biases that already exist in these systems? Who is most likely disabled and sick because of these systems? And I think if I were to make one criticism in the advocacy towards the Assisted Dying Bill, is that race and class not being brought into this properly. Because if we look at how Black people, and again, not just Black people, but I'm going to talk about Black people and sickly. If we look at how Black people enter the system, sometimes Black people can have a mental health condition, quote unquote, because they oppose the state and their commitment to war and imperialism. Black people can have a mental health condition and be seen to be like unfit because they dare question someone's authority. How many Black people have been falsely accused of a crime? How many Black people have been affected by the bystander law and have been jailed by people like Keir Starmer? Too many. And the reason I brought up the castration of prisoners earlier is because it's an example of how the state will not hesitate to find another way to perform eugenics onto the population as a cost-saving measure. Mind you, what does that mean for sex workers? Because what is a sexual offence? What does that mean for people who are perceived as sex workers? Or drug users? And again, it's a hop, skip and a jump. Because if a sex worker got punished over a sexual offence and was castrated and then maybe became disabled from said castration in a state that already doesn't rate sex workers, what would happen to them? What would happen to already disabled sex workers who have their benefits cut and they suffer a crisis in a hospital, maybe while working? What happens to people, and this is about me, who had to run to the hospital because she was having a crisis 1 year ago today? And it was summer, it was hot, I was in a low-cut top. And a doctor tells me to go fuck myself. And you know me, as I say on this podcast many a time, I like to argue back. What would happen to me if I pushed it a little bit too far? What are the limits? And the reason I started this whole video with the idea of being a little bit depressed, can't pay your rent, kill yourself, is that that's what's happening in Canada right now. People who cannot afford rent, who cannot afford to be on benefits, are being offered assisted suicide. And I'm going to leave it here because I have already been talking for way too long.